little bit of dabbling with React Native, but I was really curious. So I kept asking questions, and ultimately we decided, hey, let's actually turn this into a meetup topic. And hey, while we're at it, this topic's actually going to be broken up into a bunch of topics that we could do some deep dives on. So that's kind of where the concept for streaming this came from. I think today we're going to start with a MVP, just a bare bones application that we can get started. We'll do a little bit of wireframing. We'll go through, actually set up the project, get it working locally. But then we want to do later sessions, do some deep dives on things like you brought up, Howie, authentication, authorization, deploying these things, styling, a bunch of different other topics, but we'll see how far we get today. And the app that Eric had been wanting to make for a while, Eric is a bit of a beer connoisseur. I am too, but he likes some really fancy beers that other people like. So the idea for the app that we're going to make is kind of a, now I'm at a loss for words, Eric. How would you describe it? How would you relate it to something else?
So what I've wanted for a long time is like an app that helps me do cellar management. So like sort of understand like what all the beers I have in my my beer cellar, which is just the closet at the moment. But to know like what those beers are and like when I bought them, how much I paid for them, and also like when I drank them, or like when I should drink them before they like expire. Because like beer is very variable. Like you have some beers that basically just go down in quality like immediately. Like you should drink them as fresh as possible, and some that like you should wait a couple years, and some that you can wait like 20 years. So some kind of app that would let me know those kinds of that kind of information, as well as like send me a notification when like, hey, like you should either get rid of this or drink it. And some way to communicate with other people, because beer is a very regional thing, like especially specialty beers. So like some people maybe in like Washington State want some of the beers that I can get in Florida. So some kind of exchange or marketplace kind of functionality. And it seems like that would be like a really good app to build, like a real world app, because it's going to require authentication. It's going to require like probably some kind of chat or communication inside, profile management, date, like you're going to have like a database. People are probably going to want to export like their beer cellar stuff, like that data into like a CSV file or something. So that's sort of the idea. And then we'll probably go haywire and build like a web app and a desktop app as well, just because we can with React Native. Does that sound cool? Does anyone want to build something else instead?
I think it sounds very cool.
All right, we're gonna just like dive right in. And you may see some things like so I basically like purposely not updated my environment or some of the software in preparation for this, just so that like this is more of a realistic like live coding real world kind of situation. So you also like, the idea of this is that this is intended to sort of fill a gap of like the getting started guide and like the real world kind of building of a mobile app with React Native, and like the decisions that you have to make along the way. It should help a lot with anyone that wants to build like a real world React Native app, and also for anybody that wants to like be strong in like an interview, because we'll go over like navigation, for instance, in a React Native app is a great topic where there are a lot of trade-offs, and there's not like an obvious way necessarily to do navigation or what library to use. So we'll talk about those differences and those trade-offs, and a lot of other stuff along the way. So I think we're going to try to run it like as open as possible. Like if anyone has any questions or something's not clear, please interrupt. And then if it's like if we can't move along at all because of that, then we could probably like do async like questions in the chat and come back to them every few minutes or so.
Yeah, feel free to just drop them in the chat too, and I'll interrupt Eric if you don't want to.
Cool. I think we dive right in. So for those of you that are here, you probably have heard of React Native, maybe have played with it a bit, maybe have played with just like the React part of it. But React Native is basically taking React, a web framework, and allowing you to write native mobile applications with just basically your web development skills with React. Like the big selling point, like it's been around for what it's on its like 6th or 7th year now. It's been around a while, but like it's still a really valuable framework because it doesn't give you like a web app on a mobile phone. It gives you like an actual native application, but you only really need to write React code, like JavaScript or TypeScript if you want. Yeah, it's very simple. It looks almost exactly like a React web app would look, except as you see here, we're importing some primitives. So like on web, you might have like a p tag in HTML or a div tag. And in React Native, you'll have like a text where you want to have text. So like in place of a p tag, for instance, or a h1 tag or anything like that, and a view in place of like a div, just a kind of a container. But yeah, and then the rest, like here, obviously they're building like their own header component, and they're having some heading typography styling that's all shared. So it's very much like just React stuff. You can almost think of these as like, these are just like components themselves. So yeah, all you really need to do to get started is go in here and go to setting up the development environment. So this is like the actual steps to get set up. There's like, so when you go here, you might see like the Expo CLI quick start, which is like definitely the quickest way to build a mobile app. And thanks, Taylor, for putting all this stuff in the chat. This is like the quickest way to build a mobile app, like with React Native, but it's going to build you like a Expo managed app. What I'm going to do is, since like I'm more familiar with going straight to the bare bones, like React Native kind of app, I'm going to just follow these instructions. So the first time you do this on a machine, on your like MacBook, because you can't build iOS on anything but a MacBook, or on anything but a Mac, because Apple wants your money. The first time you do this, it's going to take like definitely a little while, especially like installing Xcode. But like the good news is like you only need to do this once. So we're using Homebrew. We're installing Node if you don't already have Node installed. Watchman to watch for file system changes, and then Xcode. You can download Xcode just from the Mac App Store. You can also download it from Apple's website if you want. This is probably the thing that's going to take the longest. I still, to this day, don't know why it takes so long to install Xcode, but yeah, then you'll also install CocoaPods, which is going to be the native dependency management tool. So like if you're familiar with NPM in JavaScript land for managing your dependencies, like you use yarn and yarn add or npm install something, and then you've got your node modules folder. CocoaPods is going to be the tool for doing that with your native iOS dependencies. So you would install that, and then what else do you need to do? Yeah, then I think you're ready to go. And before diving into the next step here, the Android one is pretty similar. You also need Node and Watchman. So if you've done this for one, you're already set up for the other. And again, these are things you only need to run one time on your machine, no matter how many React Native projects you're going to be building on that machine. This is one Android specific thing you'll need to do is install this JDK, Java developer kit or development kit. You also will need to install Android Studio and go through that wizard. This is actually a lot quicker to install than Xcode. Oh yeah, see someone's asking about Homebrew. Yeah, Homebrew is like dependency management on your own machine for like packages that you want. So you could use Homebrew to manage like node installation on your machine. You can use it here. I can show it real quick. So I'm using a new terminal that I've never used before, by the way, so things might not work exactly as I expect. Actually, you know what? They aren't working as I expect at all. So let me go here. So brew, let me make this bigger. Brew is like the command you use with Homebrew. I can also Homebrew, I think it's like .sh, but I'm not sure. Yeah, brew.sh. You can throw them in the chat. Yeah, and then you basically use Homebrew to like install different dependencies on your own machine. So I think you can like manage a bunch of stuff this way. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is way too many things to show. But this is like what I have currently on this machine. I actually don't have that much, but I have like Yarn installed here through Brew. Deno, if you've heard of Deno, it's like a TypeScript successor to Node. Git, I'm actually have Brew managing Node, Mongo, and Python versions. Yeah, so quite a lot of things. I find like Homebrew is like very nice. Yeah, and yeah, Homebrew is not on Windows yet. It's nice. So yeah, so installing Android Studio. Make sure you've got the right SDK. Yeah, and then you also will add this to like your environment variable on your machine. So for those that aren't going to use npx instead of Homebrew on Windows, let's see what they say here. So we recommend installing Node via Chocolatey. So I don't know anything really about Windows, like developing on Windows, to be honest. But in this guide, at least, it's saying you should use Chocolatey to install Node. I don't see anything about Watchman, so maybe Watchman you don't need it, or it's not optimized. Can't do any optimizations on Windows. I don't know.
So again, Chocolatey is going to be kind of like Homebrew, but for Windows. So it's trying to install the packages that your operating system is going to use. So if you want to install Node or npm, you can use Chocolatey. You don't have to, but to actually run a React Native app, we're just going to be using npx to get it started, right?
Yeah. We'll be using npx to like scaffold out the app, and then we'll be using like probably Yarn for all the JavaScript stuff. Yeah, so installing Android Studio, you can run these commands after setting your home, and you can configure the environment variable in your home. So like if you're using Bash or if you're using Z Shell, you would just add these there. So if you don't know, what is the command actually for knowing what shell you're in? Linux. Oh, would that work? Just like copying, pasting terminal commands off Google. It's always safe. So I guess you can run this and it'll work for Bash as well and tell you what shell you're using. I think Mac officially switched to Z shell a while ago, but I've always just set up Z shell on my Macs because I like it a lot. Yeah. Yeah, so you can, let's see. And then, so I'm just going into my home directory. Hopefully I don't have stuff there. It's not good to show. I think we're fine. Yeah, so I'm just like going into my home directory, doing ls and then -a to show like the hidden files. That's like all the files on a Unix system that start with a period. And so I want to like edit the Z shell RC. So it might be called Z shell RC, like you see here on your system. If you're using Z shell, it might also be called what's it, Z profile. If you're using Z shell, if you're using Bash, it might be, you might see it as Bash RC or Bash profile. But in there, you want to go in there and make sure that you've got. Oh, it's opening up over here. Make sure that you've got this in there anywhere really. Just copy and paste it, throw it in there. I got my stuff down here. I also threw a comment apparently on mine. It's probably been a really long time since I've been in here, but yeah, that's all you need to do. And yeah, then you're ready to basically go and use this React Native CLI to build an app. So we're going to do the iOS one, but this command is the same here. So we're going to, well, I guess like, do you all want JavaScript React Native app or a TypeScript React Native app? TypeScript being a superset of JavaScript that also supports TypeScript. We got JavaScript, please, TypeScript, please, JS fine too. We can do, so what we could do is we could do a TypeScript app with, but we can write JS as well. Like, let's try that. Let's see how much typing we can tolerate. So I'm just going to do the TypeScript template one because that will have set up TypeScript in the project, so I don't have to do that. But we start with JSON, upgrade to TS in future meetup. Ooh, that I like that one a lot. Yeah, let's do that. That's gonna
make us work. Gonna make us work for it. I like it.
Yeah, I can literally add this line here, and we have TypeScript set up and working. Or we can start with the JS and then build the TypeScript. I like it. I like it. Let's do it. So this is, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm just realizing it might be small for some people. We're gonna do this. So let me just clear out this. I think I'm in dev talks. Yeah. All right. What are we gonna call this? Naming is always the hard part. Didn't even think about this. Seller.
No, we're not jumping into selling anything yet. So
let's do what about my beer seller? Yes, beer seller.
Beer seller.
Oh, let's do it. That's good. We'll probably have to like take out some of the vowels or something in order to find a name we could do. It could be like beer seller or something, like misspelled.
Beer me.
Beer me.
CJ, yeah.
That is good.
Well, if it makes you feel better, whatever you pick, the Apple App Store will probably make you rename it. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll definitely go into that soon. They've gotten better. Like you can't squat on, like people used to actually squat like the domain squatters that like will find a domain name and like just buy it and then try to sell it for tens of thousands of dollars. People used to do that on the App Store, but they now have made it like pretty difficult to do that. I think you get like 90 days if you haven't published an app under a bundle ID that you claim and name you claim, you get like you lose it. So it's pretty good. Chug, I like Chug. Beer Me, the beer game. I'm gonna go. I think Beer Cellar is the one that I like them. We can change this at any point, so it won't matter so much. Let's go with Beer Cellar. So
I think as a
Or
way
you
to get
could
people
just-
involved. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was just thinking you could spell beer B-I-E-R. Because
So
that
it's
is that is a type
fancy.
of beer. Is spelled like that.
like B-I-E-R. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's go for it.
I think
was
that's
gonna
like the
say-
German spelling or something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We just have like an ongoing poll, so everyone has to keep showing up to each session that we do. If we do this as a live stream, you got to keep showing up. You got to keep voting, and then we'll change the name at the end.
Love it. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger too. Just realizing that might be small. So we're gonna actually, this is like still kind of small. Where's the, how do I I don't know how to actually, you would think that would be like the easiest thing. I think it's profiles. Yeah. There we go. All right, that should be big enough. All right. So I'm gonna use NPX. So for those that aren't familiar with NPX, oh weird. NPX is like NPM, except that NPM actually installs something on your machine, and NPX just temporarily installs a package on your machine. So where you might do like NPM install like React Native, and then that would install it like, and then -G, that would install it globally for you, and then you could use like React Native init. But then you would also have to like keep that package updated. So what NPX allows you to do, for those that aren't familiar, is like it's going to pull the latest version of this package from NPM, this React Native package, temporarily install it and allow you to run the commands. So it's really great tool. So it's just NPX React Native init. This is going to initialize a new library, yeah, just like create React app could call. And then what do we call it? Beer Cellar, I think is what we landed on. So this is going to pull down. Do I want to? Yes. That's just NPM asking me if I want to. So this is going to pull down all we need to start React Native projects. And while that is running, we can sort of go over like what we're going to do. This is just Sketch, an app like people use Figma a lot now, but I'm very familiar with Sketch, and we're not going to do any like high fidelity mockups or anything. So we'll just do some basic screens of what we're trying to build. So basically, we're going to have like a home screen.
О, полностью. Это уже метап?
Да, но они уже полчаса.
And then let's see. This one, 100. Good. So we're gonna have like a home screen. We're gonna have like a like add beer or something. Screen. What else we're gonna have? or like see my beers, like a list view. It's gonna be like an input screen. And I think like that's probably as far as we'll get today, is my guess. But what else we're gonna want to do is have like a my accounts or something, like my accounts. We're gonna want to have like sign up flows. Flows. So that's going to be probably like close to 10 screens just in that, because that's going to be like the create an account screen, a login screen, I forgot my password screen, delete my account screen. Can't think of what else right now. There's going to be a handful. Like, potentially we could have like multi-factor authentication. We can have like sign in. We're probably going to do like a social login screen as well, like sign in with Facebook or Google or Apple. So it's going to be potentially a lot of screens there. And we're going to have like some kind of like, I don't know, like a marketplace set of screens. And like some kind of like, I don't know, messenger, like messages screen, like which is like your chat messages. So you can like talk to other beer seller users. See how this is going. It's kind of slow. Yeah, does this make sense to people? Anything that you would definitely like to see that we don't have here yet?
Seems like a pretty good start.
Cool. Yeah, and we can come back to this and like actually add like better things here. Like we're probably going to want to have like we'll have to make the decision, right? But we might have like bottom tab navigation, or like we might have like a drawer that comes out that has like a drawer navigation. But those are all things that we'll have to like figure out as we go along. We can talk through. We could probably have like a whole session on just the navigation side of things. Yeah, I wanna pause and see if like anybody has any questions so far. Yeah, cool. So it looks like now it's like almost.
Sorry, I do have a question. What's the difference between building an Expo app or the React Native CLI app?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the main difference is like Expo is like a managed layer over a React Native application. So an Expo app is a React Native app, but a React Native app is not necessarily an Expo app, if that makes sense. So it's like you have React Native, which is like the actual like library and framework that connects with like your native dependencies and all that, and allows you to write JSX to get these native views and all that stuff. Whereas Expo is like a layer on top of it that basically gives you a handful of nice things. So you get a lot of packages and libraries that like the Expo team themselves manage. So you know that they're like, there's like a certain level of insurance for you that like these packages are going to be good, they're going to be maintained. If there's something that breaks in these packages, like it'll be fixed quickly. It also gives you like some other nice things like we'll like later in this project, we'll implement React Native Web for this application. But with Expo, for instance, it's like a couple commands and you get a web application already. Expo also has a really nice feature where you can share like a QR code to your dev like instance, and you can like develop Expo stuff in a browser instead of using a iOS simulator or Android simulator or emulator. I can show you an example of that actually just in the React Native docs. So if we look at like any of these things, so here's like an example of like some React Native code. Here, I'm going to turn on dark mode because it's really hard for me to see this. So here's just like on the React Native docs, and you'll see this across the React Native docs. They have this thing called a snack here on the right-hand side, which is a live updating. Did I do that right? Oh, I have to press something. Yeah, there we go. Which is like a live updating React Native Web kind of instance right there.
Okay, so when we're starting your project, is that a decision you take and you cannot get back? For instance, if I choose to start an Expo app, can I revert to React Native and vice versa?
Yeah, so the short answer is today, yes, you can. So in the past, it was really, really difficult to eject from an Expo managed app. But today it's not supposed to be difficult at all. I can't speak from experience because I've never ejected from an Expo app since they made that change to make it easy. But yeah, they in Expo's terminology, they call it a managed application or just an Expo app. And the other they call a BARE, like B-A-R-E, React Native app. And so there are like workflows for both. I have actually just recently, like this year, added Expo to a React Native project because I just wanted some of their modules that they had, some of the libraries that they had. But if you want any of the libraries that are Expo libraries, like you have to buy into their dependency, like their native dependency management framework called Unimodules, or they're renaming it to Expo modules, I think now. So you have to like set up this other dependency management to make those work.
So, thank you.
Yep. But if you just want to like play around, like they definitely Expo first is like the thing. If you want to just get stuff rendering on your screen as quick as possible. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna I'm doing code and then a period, which is gonna open up VS Code for me. Yes, I trust the authors. So as you see, like we ran that npx React Native init beer seller, and we got our app. So we've got like a very basic React Native screens here. It gives you like kind of a nice setup actually, because it sets up ESLint, which is like linting rules for your code. So sort of making sure that you're writing good code, not breaking rules, and best practices. It sets up Git, sets up Prettier to do formatting of your code. And then like it also sets up Babel to do your transformations of your code for production and all that. It also sets up like Metro, which is like required for React Native. That's the packager that's used. So you might see something like Webpack on web in a React app, but you have Metro here on in a React Native app. If we look at our package JSON, you can see we've also got some scripts here. So we've got like an Android script. We use the to like start our Android app from this project iOS start, which starts the React Native packager, Metro, and test and lint. What is the plugin you use to get colored tabs? Like, are you talking about these tabs here? I think for these, it might be.
Sorry, you kind of have it. Like I have the matching curly braces, but you have colors that kind of like go in columns that make it a lot more evident. I like that.
Oh, these right here,
Let me check.
like on the left-hand sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, what is that one? No, not bracket pair colorizer. No, I think that's what you were just talking about. There's indent rainbow.
Cool.
That's one.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry. Sorry for the side thing.
No,
That-
no problem. I'm always asking about people's setups too. Is this actually the link? Let's see. Yeah. So it's I put it in the chat now. Oh man. There's a lot more than I thought.
That's all right. I can find it.
Cool. Yeah, so let's just start up this app. Yarn. And then iOS. So that should actually start up both iOS, like the simulator, and also start up our React Native package as well. So you can do like, I hesitated a little there because like my habit is to open up a second screen and do yarn start to actually start the manager here, or not second screen, a second terminal tab, and start the packager there. But this will actually do it all for you, I believe. So while that's going, we can look a little bit more at our code. I'm just going to delete this stuff. We can actually just, I think we just delete all of this. And we can just start with like a new app. Let's see. Yeah. So we can start with like a view and text from React Native. And then we can do like, we want to say like app equals I'm gonna try something real quick. Yes. So I have these like really nice little React Native snippets. I highly recommend these things when you want to create like a lot of React or React Native screens real quick. So this is exactly what I want. And then we're going to call it, oh, yeah, it works. So that's kind of cheating, but I use these all the time. They're really nice. So these are like just boilerplate for a React Native app. And then, oh yeah, we can just talk through this. So we're importing React because this is still going to be using React under the hood. It's not using React DOM, which is like the bindings of React to a browser, to like a DOM for web, but we'll be using React. We're also using React because this gives us like JSX ability to write stuff like this. oh yeah, see, this now wants to run the packager. My terminal like warns me when one terminal window wants to like open up another terminal window. So that's why that little error came up, or that little warning came up. But so here's Metro is running now. It's a bundler for React Native. And nothing's really going on here because our app is still being built. So when this starts up, we should see it in our simulator that we have here, but we'll come back to that when it's ready. The first build takes a while for like iOS, and then it like iOS caches a bunch, or Xcode caches a bunch of the build. So like subsequent builds will be really quick. But yeah, we probably won't even need to worry about that because we're going to be in React land. So we're getting like the hot module refreshing and all that kind of stuff. So we won't have to worry about the build after this, basically. All right, so in here, just to go over a few things for like a basic React Native app. So just like React, we're going to be like creating a functional or function component. This function component is just called app. We're exporting it as a default from this component. And then down here we have styles. So this is something that's going to be a little bit different if you're coming from the web world, where you're going to have like, we have this app.js over here, right? And you might have like, I don't know, app.css or app.sass or app.less or something like that, or some kind of styling applied. In React Native, like it's kind of controversial, I guess, if you're coming from like the web. But in React Native, typically your styles are going to be defined inside of the component. Like you can even do them like inline here. So if I wanted to say like style equals like color red, like I could do that inline if I wanted to. It's not the most optimal thing to do even in a React Native app, but it's not like a really bad thing. There are actually cases where you want to do inline styles. But in general, you're going to be doing like these style sheets here. Similar in concept to CSS and JS, like style components. Yep, exactly. You can also use style components yourself in React Native. I've seen that done, but it's I think that's definitely more common on web. But yeah, it's a very similar concept of having like this style sheet inside of the actual component. I'm gonna just double check on our simulator. Okay, cool. So it built. It actually built with what was there before. Because I don't think we've saved any of this, have we? So let's do that. Let's save some of this. Should move this to the side so we can see everything. Yeah, so I'm just gonna hit save. Well, maybe I'll do like hello React Jax, and then save that. And then it's up there in the top left. I don't know if anybody can see that. Hi. Thank you. So
that notch looks so good up there.
Yeah. Don't you wish it was like on a laptop too? So yeah, why don't we make this like a bit more apparent? So like I'm going to create this style sheet. So one of the things, hi Ashraf. You're not too late. Welcome to the party. So one of the things with React Native is you'll notice this is not called like, this is called style sheet and not like cascading style sheet like it is on web CSS. And that's because like styles don't cascade in React Native. They like, so if you have like if I like applied a style here in the view of like style is like color red, and then like I have this child here, right? So I would say like style, like if I did that on web, right, you would expect the color of hello React Jax to become red. Oh, did my video die?
We can still see the background, but we just can't see you.
Cool, cool.
Could be an improvement. I don't know.
Ouch.
Oh, ouch.
Hold on 1 second. I think it's probably my camera battery. Could be an improvement. Who knows? All right, this should probably work now. There we go. Cool.
And he's back.
Yay. So like on web, you would expect this like color to like cascade down and apply to the text, but it's not here. Right, like that would happen on web, right? I think so. But here we're gonna do it like this. We're gonna do like we're gonna create a just create a style here. So we'll do like is it font size, I think. And then we'll just like apply this here. So style, so you have this like style prop on text. And then that's going to be styles dots hello text. And you can see like the editor is actually giving us some hints there too. So then I just hit save and it just updated right away. If you want more information about like those components, you can like read all about them in the docs. The docs are pretty good on this stuff. Excuse me. But you can like read all about like all the different props here that you have. Text is actually kind of an interesting one, and text input as well, because you get like a lot of these like very native specific things. Like one of my favorite like pro moves on a React Native app is on text inputs. What is it called again? It's like something type, like text content type. Yeah. So like on iOS and partially on Android, you have this like smart text inputs. Like if you've ever like filled out a form or something, and like on iOS especially, like it will just suggest like all the right answers to like your address, your first name, your last name, like all those things. Like React Native exposes those native APIs. So you could say like something is like a text input in your app is going to be a username and password, or it's going to be a new password. So it'll like tell iOS like, hey, suggest a new password for this person, or like any of these other things, which is pretty cool. And it's something that like literally takes one line of code in a React Native app and like makes your app like much higher quality. So I would definitely suggest like looking through a lot of these props, even though there are probably like 50 for text input. There are a lot of like really valuable things in here. Yeah, and then the other thing that we have is that we've wrapped this component, as you see, in a view. A view is like a div on web, basically. But you'll notice like one thing, like check this out. So let's do like, let's call it container. And then we'll do like flex direction. And then we'll just apply that style here. Container. They're not, oh, I did too many brackets. And then we'll do like just more of these. That's probably going to be bad. Let's do like this. and you like that. So
that's something that's unique to React Native, right? Is flex direction is column by default.
yeah, so there's two things to point out here actually. So one is like on web, if you have like a flex, let's say you do like display flex, the default for flex direction is going to be row, meaning that like all your items inside that flex box are going to like go flex across like that. Whereas on in React Native, it's actually going to do column because it makes sense for mobile apps. Like you're going to generally be flexing in the vertical because your screen is this like vertical screen. Whereas like on a desktop, you usually have a wide screen. But the other thing to point out here is that I don't have this anywhere because that is redundant in React Native because React Native doesn't actually use like CSS, but it uses this layout engine called Yoga, which gives you basically one simple way of laying out mobile apps with React Native. And that is basically the Flexbox model from web, which is actually turns out to be really useful for doing like mobile layouts. So you never actually have to write like display flex because everything is display flex. And you don't have to write flex direction column because it is by default. So if I save that, it won't change. Yeah. So that's some sort of like intro to React Native stuff. And I think we should start like building out our app now. Does anyone have any questions?
How come your text is on top of your clock?
Ooh, okay, yeah, let's do that one too. So because phone manufacturers love developers so much, notches were created. And also like, I don't know if you can see, like we could do this, like, let's do this. So, and then like, let's create like button. Press me if you can. Oh, my bad. I forgot I don't actually use the button so much. So it looks like I have to actually pass this in like that. All right, let's see. Let's try to, is that enough? Probably need to delete like a bunch of these, huh? All right, so let's try like this. All right, let's try to make, I'm just trying to position this button in like the worst possible place. Yeah, so there's two things here that suck for laying out your mobile app. One is like you got this notch up here, and this is like not a safe area for rendering stuff. And then you got this, which like I'm trying to like press it, but on iOS you have this like app navigator view thing, which is also down there. So it's hard to actually press. Like I'm there, I got it. I got it if I like go up above. Anyway, this can all be solved very simply. I'm gonna just select all and then safe area view. Oh, I don't know why it I want to do that. So this is actually going to manage like the safe area for us so that we're not actually going to be rendering any of our app inside the safe area. But now the problem is like I can't actually get to that stuff down there, right? So let me scroll view. Oh, that's not right. So you see like there's that white space. We can do this like, this is probably going to be better for us to see. Background color. I don't know, light blue. Is that a thing? All right. Oh yeah, the safe area is going to take that. My bad. So you can see now, like, it's probably pretty clear. The safe area, like if we comment out that, like there we're outside of the safe area. It's all blue. And here you can see like, okay. So it's not going to render anything there so that like a user can use the use this navigator down here, and it's not going to render anything up here because that would be at risk of being hidden behind the notch. So yeah, any questions on that? Oh yeah, and also we added this scroll view, which is how you add like scrollable views. Scroll view also has like a bunch of nice stuff too. Like you can have pull to refresh functions and yeah, do a lot of nice stuff with it. All right, cool. So let's go to like actually building out this app. So it's obviously not going to say like hello React Jax. All right, see you, Anthony. We're going to do like, I don't know what we should have for our home screen.
Just drop in an emoji for the time being until we get some assets.
Yeah, we can definitely do it. So let's do like align items center and justify content center.
So this convention with style sheets, you're using what look like CSS properties, but they're actually JavaScript properties, right? These are the same naming conventions that you see in React, because it's not using CSS, it's using the DOM representation of those styles. Is that right? So that's why you've got the camel casing.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I forgot about that thing. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. I'm looking for. I think I have it here somewhere. It's called yoga. Yeah, with Flexbox. Yeah. So I think they have like this section that's like the things that are a little bit different or something with layout in React Native, or this is just a reference to it, but they have this like yoga playground, and you can learn about that, like how this actual layout engine works, which is pretty cool. Yeah. All right, I did something bad. What did I do? Oh, I try to apply that to the scroll view. Yeah, we don't want the scroll view anymore. Just want like a view. Oh, and then we probably want like flex to take up like all the space, right? What do I do now? Oh, we can just, yeah. It's gonna get like, you can just use a safe area view as a view, I think. Oh. There we go. And then we said we wanted like an emoji or something. Like this.
Yeah, get the beer emoji. You can just do beer seller.
Oh yeah, that's good. I don't know why the why like the emoji menu doesn't come up for me, so I had to Google this now. Good.
Graphic design is your passion.
Exactly. Who wouldn't want to download this app? I see Joel's asking, is it best to learn React before learning React Native? That's a good question. I think like generally, you could dive right into React Native, but it's gonna help for sure to understand how React works, because you're gonna have to learn how React works in general. That's like the main complicated thing, but you could learn React while learning React Native. So basically you just want to be focusing on like the web specific things. Yeah. Let's go back and reference there. Yeah, there should be a video. We're streaming this to Twitch. This is our first time trying that. So if all goes well, there should be a video. And we can definitely post that recording after. Okay, thanks, Kelly, for responding. All right, so why don't we do like, what were our other screens we're gonna do? Add a beer. Why don't we do that? Let's do like, I'm just gonna like copy this real quick and add beer. There. Cool. So, and then I'm gonna, what were the other ones we had? See my beers. We have like that, and we have this, my beers or something. So what I'm doing here is I'm making like the screens, and then we'll make these into like a navigation of some kind.
So for navigation, I know in React, we kind of, everyone rallies around React Native, or I'm sorry, React Router or Reach Router, but now they've kind of merged back together. What do we do in React Native?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm gonna go from like the naive implementation, which is just gonna be like, I'm gonna write like just some JS here that will do the navigation. And then we're gonna look at the actual like the main navigation libraries. There are essentially like two big ones that we'll look at. We'll look at React Navigation. Yeah, as Ernst puts there. That's the biggest one in the community. We'll also look at React Native Navigation, which is another large library. It's been around a little bit longer than React Navigation, and has like a different architectural approach than React Navigation, but is no longer like the most popular. React Navigation is definitely the most popular. Do you have your YouTube link to subscribe? We have a Twitch one, I think.
Give me just a second. I'll drop it in the channel.
Okay. So let's see, what do we have? Let's do like a really, really naive navigation. It's like show add a beer and show my beers, something like that. We're just gonna do like really like how you should never do navigation essentially in like an app, but it's like a totally valid way if you wanted to. I mean, I just would not recommend it because it won't scale. And we'll see why real quick. So we can do. How do we want to do this? So this wasn't actually my plan, but I am going on a tangent, and I hope you all can bear with me. So I'm going to like implement some navigation here. Let's say active screen and set active screen. And we're just going to do like use state. Oh yeah, I have a snippet for that. Let me import use state. What? Right. I'm having like a brain fart. Can I not? How do I how do I import a default and a named? Can I just do, I mean,
What error is it giving you?
I just forgot the syntax for like if I want to do like import a named export and a generic. I thought it was like a comma, but I guess not.
It did.
Is that how it is? Is it like that? Thank you.
Yeah, you may have to have React first. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like it's right. Yep. Thank you all. All right, so yeah, what we're doing, oh yeah, this ridiculous thing. We're gonna set the, so basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm gonna create a state variable with use state that's gonna be the active screen. And then I'm going to have buttons that change the active screen to something else. So this is gonna be like, we're gonna create a navigation library with just use state. And we're not going to fully implement this because that's going to be just kind of annoyingly fool's errandy. But on press, we're going to say like, this is going to just be set active screen to add. We'll just call that screen add. Oh. Start at home. Right? Is this complaining replacement? Oh, quotes. And then I'm just going to copy this whole thing right here, and we're going to call this my peers. And then yeah. So just so it's clear, here in the comments, I'm just adding like the names of these like screens. This is so, yeah. So, I don't know who let me code tonight, but yeah. So basically, we're gonna create these. And then like if active screen equals did I get a laugh add then like we'll show add here, and if it's what's that one, my beers. So, oh, what? Can I not do this, Jenk? Is this not?
What's wrong?
Oh, I thought this would actually work. It's not seeming to work. The active screen of my beers. Let's just do this. Text active screen.
I think we should remove this if we just need to return the text because we already have the container, right?
Take away the
Yeah, for example, the add beer, we set it up as a page, but actually we already have the page at the home. So when you want to render it here, maybe it's just the content.
oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying like get rid of. I guess we need so that we probably need like home then, I guess. Oh, we have all these safe areas. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, you're totally. Thank you. Unexpected token. Yeah. We can probably just do that for right now. Oh, why is that happening? Access screen. Oh. Need to actually make these like correct points. All right. So there we go. So that like I'm not gonna go further in this because obviously this is dumb. But basically like we're creating like a home screen here, navigation elements, which are these like buttons, which will then render like different components as like the active screens. We could go like a step further and do like active screen is like home, and then like render like a home component, and which we could just create. I guess I am gonna just do it just for fun. And then this could be, all it really is this. Right. Then we've got those three things, right? So we can go home, we can go add a beer, go show my beers, right? And like this probably seems like really dumb, and it was like a dumb idea I just thought about doing while we're coding live. But this is like a navigation that you have, right? This is actually not that different than what like a navigation library is going to be doing if you write it in JavaScript. But we're in native land, so we're going to look at like the more common navigation libraries. So and so one thing that's always funny is like when you search for React Native Navigation, which is a specific name for a library, you'll actually get React Navigation as like the top result. And then you actually have to look down to try to find React Native Navigation.
That's some really good SEO right there. Jumping ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. There's so like we can also see this on like npm with like React Native.
Quick question, Eric. What font are you using? Joel would like to know. He likes the ligatures.
Oh, operator mono with ligatures. So there's like a library. Operator mono is like a pretty nice font, but it costs money. But if you have it, you can run this operator mono ligatures over it, and you get ligatures. There's also Fira code, I think, which is like very similar, which is like a mono spaced. Oh, why? Yeah, there's also Dank mono, which is like really similar and it's cheaper than operator mono. But I think Fira code is like very close and free, and it comes with ligatures. It's like
I think on Windows, Cascadia code is the one that they started shipping.
okay. So yeah, we can look at this. Like, here's React navigation. It's like pretty popular on npm. Here's React Native navigation, not as popular. Both are used a lot. Both are a little bit different, and I'm going to just talk quickly about like the differences after I have a little sip. So you're probably going to want to do navigation in any kind of like serious React Native app better than something like this. And so there are like a couple things to consider. Like, one thing we haven't touched on with React Native is that as a library or quasi, like as a framework, basically, React Native has the opinion that your app shouldn't look the same on different platforms. It should respect the platform like norms. So like modals are a good example. So like on for people that use iOS, if you see a modal, you're probably familiar with it, like sliding up from the bottom and like coming up, maybe tinting the background a bit, and not coming up all the way. And that's like a modal on iOS. On Android, it's more of like it's just a full screen thing, right? It's like you navigated to something. Those are different kinds of navigations that you do that are different on those two different platforms. There are also differences in like buttons, like so on Android, for instance, they follow like the general standard is material design, which is like Google's design system or principles. And on iOS, there's the human interface guidelines or something like that. But there are like slight differences in things like how buttons work, what kind of feedback you get from tapping on something, like the color of the element changes and things like that. React Native takes the approach that you should respect those, so that like your app doesn't look exactly the same across different platforms, but is more familiar to the users on those platforms, which makes a lot of sense. I think like a user of your app is not like their life is not dedicated to using your app, right? They're using like tons of other apps on that device, on that platform. So you're bringing the app into like what's easier for them to use.
I think Google just made a little bit of news because their Google Maps app on iOS, they finally yielded and said, okay, we'll start abiding by the Apple iOS guidelines rather than entirely material design.
Yeah, I mean, to me it makes sense. There are other like, so if you're looking into like cross-platform development, you've probably seen Flutter. They take like a different approach to it, which is that like you basically, I think with Flutter, you design and you choose like one or the other, and it'll look the same on whatever platform you're going to, which there are benefits to that too. I'm not knocking it, but I definitely like the React Native approach of like respecting the platform norms. Yeah. Great topic for another section, Flutter versus React Native. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, so with navigation libraries, I'm just going to go over these two. There's been like a very long history of different navigation solutions with React Native. And basically it's boiled down to like these two as like your best options. So Wix, if you've heard of Wix, they're a pretty big company. They're also like heavily invested in React Native and built some pretty great React Native libraries, one of which is React Native Navigation. The basic core thing to understand about this is it's been around a while, it's battle tested. It's backed by Wix. The core architectural difference with React Native Navigation is that from the get-go, it exposed the native navigation elements. So you got like the actual like stack navigators and UI views and all that stuff from the native platforms, iOS and Android. You just had wrappers around those things. Whereas originally this other library, React Navigation, which I guess I'll just pull up their GitHub because that's what I was looking at before for React Native Navigation. React Navigation originally was like JavaScript navigation. And then they switched pretty quickly to like native navigation. And now they're at this like really nice middle ground where like you have the native navigation plus you can do like custom animations that are running on the native thread very easily. It also plays really nicely within the community because a lot of the Expo people are also part of this. Yeah, you can get things working really well with a lot of other tools in the ecosystem. So we're gonna be using React Navigation in this project. But does anybody have any questions so far before I start on this?
I feel like we could do an entire deep dive on navigation and some of the history and context behind that, but I like just picking one and going with it for today.
Yeah, there was where was it? At a really recent conference, I think React Native EU, there was a React Navigation talk. And as part of it, they did like a history of navigation in React Native, which was pretty good to give you like a sense of like where it all started. It was basically kind of like almost like an original sin in React Native, where it didn't ship with a navigation library. It probably should have from the get-go, just with React Native because you kind of need it, but it didn't. So there was like partial options for iOS and partial options for Android, and it was a real mess for the first year or two. But yeah, I would say for right now, just pick React Navigation, and even in your own projects is probably going to be what's most useful to you. You can look at it real quickly, like all that you get from it. So you get, does it show you? Yeah. Excuse me. So you get things like tab navigators. So I don't know if anybody can see that. Tab navigators is like, this one you have home and settings tab at the bottom. That gives you that out of the box. Drawer navigation, so that's like pulling out, getting the drawer, get that out of the box. We can look to like briefly, like this is very easy to implement. So you see, it actually doesn't look that different than our janky hacked together navigation that we did over here in terms of like the code here. So what you are doing is creating like a bottom tab navigator. We're calling it tab here. And then you're just declaring that navigation structure. So create a tab, which is like the bottom tab navigator. And then you've got, you just creating the navigator and the actual screens. Screen name is going to point, the name is what's going to show up, and you're going to be pointing to this component called home screen, which is up here. And for the tab screen, or for the settings tab, same thing, except you're going to be pointing at the settings screen. It's almost like this, right? It's almost exactly as easy as this. except that it's actually good. And using native navigation. For drawers, it's also very similar. You're getting that drawer here. You're also getting all those gestures out of the box. It's going to work like on iOS and on Android. It's also going to work on web. All this navigation stuff, essentially. Very similar. You're going to create a drawer navigator. We're going to call it drawer. And then again, you're just declaring your navigation structure. Initial route, the name home, component home screen here, and the name notifications, component notification screen here. So very, very simple. A lot of these things too, like you get programmatic control. So if you wanted to have like a button on your screen that would open the drawer, so like from somewhere else, like so you usually didn't have to tap on the drawer for some reason, or you have like some kind of helper or something like, hey, this is now in your drawer and you want to open up the drawer for some reason, or you want to close the drawer for some reason, like you have control over that. You have control over a lot of these things, which is very nice. You also have other things. Let me jump to a couple other things that are really typical. So I guess they don't have it here. Let's see if there's. So there's like there are also like top navigators. So you might see like I guess I'm not here, but like inside of a screen, you might also want to have a navigator. Like you could think of a screen that has like multiple tabs at the top, maybe. You've probably seen that in apps. So you could add like, you don't have to have like everything at the top level for a navigation library, which is a nice thing as well. You can theme this thing. There's actually quite a lot. You can customize all of the transitions. Like you get the native transitions out of the box, or the default ones at least. But you can change how the transitions work. They just work like regular animations. If you want to compose animations, do all sorts of kind of custom navigation if you want to. Deep linking is supported. Deep linking is like when maybe like you get a push notification, you want that push notification to take someone directly to a specific screen in your app, not just open your app. You can get that support working here, so it'll actually route someone to that part of your app.
Sorry, useful too for social login.
Is it what?
It's super useful for social login when getting back from your Google, your Facebook.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, any kind of social login or like multi-factor stuff a lot of times will require like or SSO will require deep linking of some kind. Yeah. Any questions about this?
Yeah, I do have a question actually. Because for the linking, I see they use the Expo linking package. Is that mean it needs to be an Expo app, or it can be used for a bare React Native app?
Yeah, you can do it in a React Native app. It looks like they're just putting the Expo one there for ease of use for people that are using Expo, because you will have to, like, deep linking is actually this. It's definitely a more advanced topic because it's going to require, like, if you don't use the Expo linking library, which does a lot of the lifting for you on the native side, you're going to have to like set up stuff yourself. iOS is definitely one that's like a bit more involved. But yeah, I guess I haven't ever actually used the Expo linking library, but I imagine that it's very, very simple to set this up. But we will set up deep linking in this project. We will, from scratch. Cool. I know we're like over time. I still feel pretty energized. So if y'all want to stick around, I think we can just do this, set up the navigation with React Navigation, and then we can call it a day, a night. wherever y'all might be.
Go for it.
Cool. So we're gonna use Yarn in our projects. And oh, so big. Yeah, I'm gonna stop running our app. So I just canceled the Metro bundler, and then I'm just gonna yarn add React Native navigation. I think I need to actually add a few other things. So yeah, cool. So now we get into like a bit more of real world React Native stuff. So we also have a few more dependencies to install for this. Excuse me. So I'm just adding these, installing these packages. You see here like npx pod install iOS. So that is what that is going to do. So if we look at our project structure, in our iOS folder, maybe it makes more sense to look at this in the sector. So you see these folders up here, like node modules you're probably familiar with if you're coming from web development. It's all your JavaScript dependencies. In these iOS and Android folders, these are actually like our project folders for the iOS app and for the Android app. So these are just like native apps, native projects. In the iOS one specifically, what we're going to be looking at right now is like these pods, which is all of our native dependencies on iOS for our project. So like the node modules for iOS, and this pod file, which has some basic configuration stuff for us, like what platform we're targeting and some other configuration stuff. We don't need to worry about this right now, but I also have this, which is like a yarn lock or a package lock. Is that what it's called with Fuse NPM? Yeah, so this is locking all of our pods at specific versions, so all the dependencies at specific versions. So that's the pod file. What we're going to be doing now is like we install these packages. They have native dependencies though. So for iOS, what we need to do is either run npx pod install iOS or just do it manually, which I'll do this first time, which is like, let me go back. So I'm in the project folder. I'm going to change directories into iOS. I'm going to do a pod install. And that's just going to take like our, basically it would be like your package JSON, but in the pod world, in the CocoaPods world. And it's going to like download and install those native dependencies. So it's done that now. So now we could build our iOS app again. But it looks like we have to do a little bit more setup actually for this. So one additional, so React Native screens, which is part of this React navigation library, requires one additional configuration step to properly work on Android devices. Edit main activity.java file, which is located in there. Add the following line. So even though we're like working in this iOS app right now, it's a good idea to like set up the Android stuff as well as much as we can, in case we get lost or something. Where was this? Main, Java, Java, and then it's like anywhere, I think. And then make sure to add an import statement at the top of this file. I'm just gonna, because I'm totally gonna forget about this. React. like to just comment stuff like even in this native stuff that I'm probably not going to be doing much in, like to know like why that thing is there. This change is required to avoid crashes related to view state being not persistent consistently across activity restarts. Cool. Now we need to wrap the whole app in a navigation container. Usually you do this in your entry files such as index.js or app.js. So I'm just going to copy this for right now and throw it up here. So we don't need that. We got our navigation container. And then we got this. So we can start doing this. So for right now, I'm just going to like copy all of this over and delete this. And we should be good. Like it shouldn't actually change anything. Cool. So I think we need to also add, well, we're not gonna do a stack yet. Hold on. Let's do the tabs first. So we're gonna do yarn add tabs. I don't think I need anything native here. I guess we can also add the this getting started. We're going to need the stack. So the stack navigator, for those that aren't familiar, we talked a little bit about the tabs. That's like those bottom tabs. We talked about the drawer. That's like that drawer that slides over from the left. Well, you can have it go where you want, but stack is just like the name would imply of like a stack in computer science. You're just putting things on top, right? So you're where you see this in an app is like on iOS, like you tap something and the screen slides on, and the screen slides on and slides on, and then you tap back and it pops off. You're just pushing screens onto the stack and popping screens off the stack. So it's a really, really common way. Like if you're drilling in somewhere in an app to like more details or something like that, you see that. So basically you could like a really common navigation structure would be like either your like main screens, your main entry points in your app would be like tabs in the tab bar at the bottom. Like you have like home, in our case, like probably like home, add a beer, show my beers, account settings, something like that. Or you'd have it in a drawer. And that would be like your entry point for the main screens. And then in each one of those, you probably are going to implement those as stacks. So it's like, like the my beer list screen, my inventory or something is going to be like your main screen. And then lots of stacks, like you tap on a beer and it goes somewhere and tells you more stuff or whatever. Any questions about that? Oh yeah, like a stack of cafeteria trays, yeah. While Eric explains, goes true focus. Cool. Yeah, let me know if I'm talking too fast or anything like that. I sometimes have a bad habit of talking a lot. Cool. So yeah, I'm just installing this because I know we're gonna like a stack is gonna be so common that we're gonna use it. So putting that in here. You might also notice that like all these have like the React navigation. That's because they've broken out like all these packages. Like not every app needs stack navigators, not every app needs tabs, not every app needs drawers, like all that. So they broke this out a while ago. So you like basically install the core, and then you add these like extra navigation packages on, which is kind of nice. Cool. So I think these things should be ready. So we're also going to just like copy I'm actually gonna just really rip this right out. Copy this. I'm gonna bring this down here. Excuse me. I think we needed a couple imports, didn't we? So we got our create bottom, and we're being very bad here because we're. So home is going to be. We create the home component, yeah. Let's actually just call them exactly the way that they call them, home screen. I'm going to delete all of this because we no longer need that. And we got home. What else do we have? Add a beer. What is this? Add beer screen. And then we wanted one more, right? Which was my beers. And then that's going to be like beer. Yeah, that should work. We did stop our
You
bundle.
do have another export statement in the bottom left over from when you copied and pasted.
Oh, thank you very much. There we go. I do like that. I like the style of like keeping them down here separate. So I always know where to find the default export or just the exports in the file. This one's pretty small though. So while it's building, I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit. Yes, I'm going to let you run this packager.
Is that a convention when you're setting up your navigation to refer to things as screens?
Yeah. I've seen things where I think screens, it makes sense because like a screen is going to be composed of like a lot of other components, and naming does get a little hard though, like when it's like home screen and then like home component or something, I don't know. But a lot of times like I'll see like folder structures. So like you would have like a screens folder, and then you know that like that's where, or it could be called routes, for instance. But that's where you know like your top level navigation screens are. Because most of the time this is going to be just like almost nothing, or just a container kind of component. It's going to be that screen. But yeah, so we can look at that. We got navigation now. What? We even get like this stuff for free up here. We get the names down here. And as you see, we have not added icons. But like super easy, we've got native navigation now. Let's see. And we don't have to have any of our jank stuff that we were doing before. Yeah, I think we need to get those icons in though, right? We can't leave it like this. So customizing the appearance. So we need to figure out like what icons we want. Should we try these? What is this package? Oh yeah. This is like all of the icons or something. Anybody have any like icon sets that they really like? Ant design, evil icons, octacons, material, font awesome. I don't know what evil icons are. I mean, I think the main question is just going to be like, do they have a beer icon? Is there a way to search this?
Probably
Oh.
just Control F.
Is this like all I have? Sorry, evil icons. Um, Ionicons probably has beer, right? Boom. Ionicons it is. um, yeah, I forget how to actually set this up. So this one's like, since we want like these native assets, we need to like also set it up on the native side. It's kind of annoying. Oh yeah, thanks. Thanks, Ashworth.
What do you mean by that exactly? Setting it up on the native side?
Oh yeah, so since these are going to be like how can I explain it? Like here, I could do like an image component, and I can like just what is like source, or is it source? I think in React Native, and I can have like a URL or whatever. I could have like a PNG or something here in my app. I could just like throw in a PNG file in my file structure here, and I can reference it. But since these navigation, like this navigation is on the native side, I need to like also set it up so that the native like iOS navigator can find these assets, which is a little different. This is not like the most common thing. This is like one of those things where you do it one time. Like I'll set up this icon library one time, and then I'll never have to touch like the native side of it again. But these are all things like a lot of times I like advice I give to developers, even if they join like a React Native team or project at a company, you've been doing it for like a year or two. There are a lot of things in a React Native app that like you only do once in that for the app. So if you're not there like at the time that like your company or the project you're on, like that one thing needs to be done that one time in a React Native app, you probably don't get that experience. So I always recommend to people, even if you've been like working in React Native for like even a couple years, to like build an app yourself from start to finish. Well, finish is like never ending probably, but at least building a whole app and deploying it and everything, because there are a lot of things that you like realize along the way while you do that. What do we got here? Options. Yeah, we should be able to do something like that. Got yeah, the only issue is we need to bring in Ionicons. So let's just set this thing up. And this will be like the last thing we do, I think, tonight, is just set up, bring in these icons. So let's set up installation, iOS. Yep. Icons. All right, so let's cancel. No, I don't want dictation. And option. Okay, if you want to use any of these bundle icons, you need to add the icon fonts to your Xcode project. Just follow these steps. Browse to node modules, drag the folder fonts, just the ones you want to your project in Xcode. Make sure your app is checked under add to targets and that create group is checked issue. Okay. So we're gonna have to hop into Xcode real quick. Open. That's not actually the. And then when you're opening something up in like Xcode, you want to choose the workspace, not the proj. So definitely the workspace. That up. And this might take a second, the first time it's running. So what do we need to drag the fonts folder or just the ones we want? I think I'd just do the icons. Let's see. Oops, that's...
Yeah, is React Native smart enough that when it builds this application, it's only going to pull in the assets that it needs?
Yeah.
So if you copy in all of these icons, but you only use two.
Yes, the bundler should be smart enough to do that. Looks like, all right, we got this. So we're just in our node modules folder. I think that's what this thing said. Go in there, find the fonts folder, and then, oh, it's just like these TTFs, so it's not much. They're quite small, which is nice. I guess they're just like the lists, maybe, or they're just font families. Make sure you're considering the targets. Add the fonts to your project in Xcode. Oh, this has been a while. So I go like. That doesn't seem to work. Oh yeah, it should be like this. Those or ionicons. Make sure your app is checked into add to targets. So our app is should be like beer seller. These are all like our pods.
What are you looking for right now?
It should be like our app should be a target for like where these are being added to.
With the,
There we go.
I'm looking at the README and the installation. There is an option to do it with CocoaPods, and it gives you the pod and the path to use.
Oh, option. And the form to your profile and pod. Oh, that's like way easier. Thank you. I should have read the whole directions. And oh, I got a lot of stuff up now. So just run the pod install. Hey, cool. And the pod is okay. So what are we trying to do up here? Edit the plist file. So that's we can do this in VS Code, but it's easier in Xcode, I think. So info. I'm gonna add a property called fonts provided by application. All right, see you, Ernst. Yeah, it should let us just do this. I think I'm missing something. One like add one. Okay, fonts provided by application. Yes. It's really small. It's really hard to see. And then type of files you just added. It looks something like this. Yeah, I have 0, and then that's doing the value will be ionicons. I think that's the one we actually care about. Is that the name of the? I think that was the name of it. Oh, they have it. Ionicons. Yeah, so that should work. Oh, it's got a list of them. Oh, yeah, we could just add it like that. Cool. You need to recompile your project after adding the fonts and change related to cover one of these. Okay, so I think I need to compile again. And here I'm just gonna like start the bundler instead of having it auto start for me. But that should work now. So I'm gonna assume that this is gonna work, and we can go back here and start copying and pasting this stuff. Icons, and what else do we want? The tab navigator is where we're going to add all these icons. Yeah, they've got a lot here. So we can go over like all this stuff as well. What all they're doing here. So this is like a really messy way of doing this. But let's look for the ionicons. Icon that we want. Beer outline. So it'll be like our add beer. Have our icon for this. So I'm just sorry, I'm just trying to think of like what actual one we want. So we could do this like let icon name, and then we could do like running goes home, icon name equals, I don't know, home is home like the actual home outline. See, and then the work that did not work. Then here. Oop. I'm a little bit lost here. This should be working, right? Oh, I'm tired. There we go. I was doing a triple equals equality when I wanted to do assignment. I think that that is a sign that this is a pretty good point to stop. Also, this is like a really janky way to write all this. But yeah. And then what do we want for my beer? You know what?
I mean, for add beer, you could just do like a add symbol, like a plus sign or something.
Like what do you think? Like that one? Add outline or nope. Hey.
Not too shabby.
All right. Yeah, that's probably enough. We'll definitely clean this up the next time and actually do it the way we want to have it done. But yeah, so far we've made a React Native app. We've running it on iOS Simulator. We've added native navigation with React Navigation. Set up our tabs here with these 3 different screens. I think next time we'll probably like clean this stuff up, start like polishing this stuff, probably add a stack navigator to something here so we can see how that works. I love that everyone's putting the cheers emoji in the chat. And then we'll hopefully get to like setting up authentication here so that basically like all of this stuff you see here you would not see unless you were authenticated, and we'll look at the authentication flow. That would be
So as a sneak peek, what are we going to be using to handle authentication?
So we'll probably be taking like a pretty easy path to doing that, which is using AWS Amplify. So they expose like a bunch of AWS services and setups pretty easily through this Amplify framework for React apps, for Svelte apps probably by now, Angular apps, React Native apps, like everything. We'll look at that. Yep, that's the link. And yeah, when will it happen? I think we're going to try to do this next week to try to do this weekly. Like we've been doing this meetup every month, but that doesn't seem like a really good cadence for trying to build out an app like this. So we'll try to do it every week. We'll post it in the meetup group, and if this Twitch streaming thing works well for us, then we'll probably be like doing Twitch stream. Yeah. Any questions before we sign off for today? Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you all for coming. See you next time.
Yeah. See you, everyone.